Welcome back to Guilty Pleasures and Shameless Treasures. I'm your host, Courtney, and today on the pod we have a very special guest I've been a fan of for a while. Emily Rose is a pop culture commentator from Montreal, so we are Quebec neighbors. She just published an amazing new journal with Simon and Schuster called the Stuff I Hate Journal. So finally, someone is standing up to this toxic positivity that the boomers have put onto us. She spent the better part of the past decade living in a small mountain town, working as a herbalist and children's nature school animator. So cool. I can't wait to hear more about that. She has since returned to her hometown to make TikToks, analyze celebrity culture, and host a weekly podcast called It's Become a Whole Thing. She also does birth chart readings and has a plethora of knowledge regarding astrology. So when I had the idea to do a podcast on Bravo Lebs and their astro charts, I knew she would be my dream guest. So welcome, Emily.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Courtney, I'm like, wow. Gosh.
I'm starstruck right now. I'm super excited. So I just want to get right into it with you. So I actually want to know, what are your sun and moon signs, and how does that affect, how do you feel like it affects, who you are, and maybe some of the things that I just mentioned that you've done in your life?
Okay. Um, so I'm gonna very briefly just mention like some of my big six because I kind of feel like it's key
Yes,
to the whole podcasting thing.
agreed.
So I'm a Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, so super chill, a cool, calm, and collect. No, I'm just kidding. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. A Pisces rising too. It's like literally,
Ooh, a
yeah, yeah, I
lot
know.
of water.
I say that to people, they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And but then my Mercury and Venus are in Libra, so it's like very chatty and like light, and I feel like that is a very key piece of the puzzle to the whole podcasting and like content creation thing.
I love that.
But then I also want to go into like the deep dark depths of everyone's soul
Of
with the
Scorpio and the
Scorpio.
Pisces. Yes, yes. I feel you. I'm a Scorpio moon and an Aries sun. So,
Oh my
uh,
God, yeah, love and light and sympathy and yeah,
too
we
much sympathy.
no, but I love an Aries. Like my favorite people are Aries.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
it's funny because I feel like I'm like the opposite of a Virgo, but I'm always attracted to Virgos. I have so many in my life. And it's funny because there's so many Virgos in the VPR cast. Like I just keep seeing Virgo and Cancer constantly. So it's interesting.
yeah, yeah. And this is something that I think actually I probably talked about more on my Patreon, so people probably haven't heard too much about it. But water signs are what makes VPR go round, and like with Virgos complementing it, and you'd think it would be the fire signs, but like it's the water signs because it's not just. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here because I know we're gonna
We'll
dive
get
into
it.
it more, but like it's not just Cancer. It's like you've got Kristen, who's a Pisces. Like it's just a watery, soupy mess of emotion.
Maybe that's why it's so incestuous. They're just like they're so connected with each other. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but they're having so many feelings all the time. And so yeah, you would think it would be a cast of fire signs that would make good reality TV, but no, it's like secretly it's the water signs.
Wow. I'm so excited to get into this with you. I can't wait because I feel that water sign energy. So I know. And I know you do too. So first and foremost, so we're gonna be just doing the Vanderpump Rules cast today. We've got more than enough content to cover there. But I want to know, I know it's been just over talked about, it's been going on since March 1st, literally. What are your thoughts on Scandal?
I mean, like what it the thing is it's like all I think about.
Yeah.
So I mean I maybe like would need to get more into the specifics, but like
Right.
what is really beautiful is that I'm sure you've seen this too from following pop culture, is that women usually really get just the short end of the stick in the court of public opinion. It's almost always everyone against whatever woman in the situation, regardless of what they did. It's really depressing.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice case of it's basically 100% support of the woman in the situation. And rightfully so.
Absolutely. And even the fact that we now know, as we're watching the season, before Scandival breaks, but we know about Scandival, so we're not villainizing Katie and Lala like we normally would, because we're seeing that Schwartz let, oh shucks, nice guy, even Schwartz, right, not just Sandoval. He's that's that I don't know, maybe it's the universal consciousness is shifting, but we're seeing through it more and
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. I I did just make an episode where I was villainizing Law a little bit. I will just
Right.
say much less than the men. Um
Yes, but no, Lala is she's problematic. I know, it's so problematic, but I have
Lala
to
to
say,
me she's a case of like a broken clock is right twice a day. Like she's been yelling
yes.
at everyone. So this is one person that she's especially yelled at and it's really worked out well for her and I love that, but like I don't.
No, and I'm with you on that, and I've never liked Lala. I've just she's at the right place at the right time right now, for sure, right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll get more into that. Okay, so we'll start off with the top three people that everyone's talking about right now. So we'll start with Tom, then we'll go into Ariana, and then Raquel.
Mhm.
So, Tom is a Cancer sun and a moon in Gemini. So can you? I have some notes here, but you're more of the expert. So what does that feel like to you?
Okay, well, I can do my very best to separate myself from the actual person we're talking about and just speak about it objectively, but
Right,
I my bias is gonna creep in, obviously. I'm
of
like, it
course.
means he's evil, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm trying to think. It's funny because I was about to say like I'm trying to think of if a man were to come and do a birth chart reading with me, but I've actually never had that happen.
Yeah, shocking. My boyfriend barely like he will like cringes every time I talk about it, so I hear you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of prefer it that way, but I'm like, I don't I have a bit of a skewed sample size, but the thing about like the Cancerian attitude is it's very, very moody
Yeah,
and it can be very manipulative. And I say that as someone who I have some close friends that are cancers and one who is a man and he's a little devil and he kind of owns it and he will he's just one of those people that's so charming that he could kind of stir the pot and like he's always like poking and prodding and you know that he's like trying to get a rise out of you but he gets away with it.
right.
um
The charm.
yeah, the charm. um you know, people say that um Geminis are kind of like the two-faced ones, quote unquote, but I think cancers more than them really have a completely different identity at home and like behind closed doors in the company of people they're very close to versus like out in the world.
Right.
So there's that. And then the moon in Gemini is a really chaotic moon to have. It's
Is it?
like yeah, I would say. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like endless ideas. Like it's like having an encyclopedia and you're always like going through the pages, like flipping through them. It's just so much information and idea overload.
So, do you think like the hidden side of like the things at home had like would that kind of tie into how him and Ariana maybe weren't showing their full relationship on TV and there was things going on and he's always trying to present this sort of everything's great facade?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, I've also noticed that a lot of drag queens on RuPaul's Drag Race are cancers, and I think that just also speaks to this like very different outwardly presentation that they can have and then
Right.
it's like these two sides to their life and like sun and cancer people like they want to be home and their home is like especially like sacred and precious to them and so I could just see them wanting what happens at home to be in its own little bubble because right before Scandival broke we saw an interview with Lala where they said who's the most different on screen and off and she said Tom and Ariana and yeah, I see that. Then you mix it with Ariana's bit of a stoic
Mhm.
Aquarius rising and it's like yeah, they just want to keep it under wraps a bit.
Yeah. What did I want to ask you? Okay. So Do you think that I see with Tom the victimization, like he's victimizing himself and he's very like yes and, right? So when I noticed when him and Ariana, not in the one that just the episode that just came out on Wednesday, but the week before, they had that sit down conversation and she's telling him, which I found really interesting, that she's asking him to fertilize the eggs and all he has to do is not drink or smoke for like 5 days and go on a cleanse, and he can't seem to do it. But now I don't know where I was going with this.
Well,
um,
he's like trying to plant the seeds of
he's like yes
of
and
discontent. He's like trying to start a fight to be like, see, Ariana, you never back me up, but that he's trying to get a rise out of her, and she's like, well, we're gonna disagree on things, and like it's
yeah.
not working.
And it's like he's blame shifting always. Like, well, yeah, we all make bad decisions. We're all unhealthy. And then we've heard rumors about the reunion where he's just like, well, you never had sex with me and you never did this and you never said sorry. And so I don't know if that has anything to do with either of those. I'm sure we'd have to see his whole chart, but just like the always shifting blame and putting it onto someone else and calling out, like never taking responsibility, basically.
Well, yeah, I really I like to think of all the qualities of the signs as there are things that show up when people are in balance and out of balance. But when
Right.
I say out of balance, like that's something that can occur in a season of life, in a certain month, in a day, within hour to hour. So it's not something that's like, oh, you are an out of balance person, you are an imbalance. Like it's very fluid. But Tom is always out of balance. And so the manipulative sides of Geminis and Cancers really comes out. And I
Mhm.
say that as someone who I'm usually almost always rallying in defense of Geminis. Controversial.
Controversial for sure. Um, okay, so just to wrap up, Tom, if we're dropping into him in a more positive light, like where maybe we're trying to like humanize him a little bit. I know I've heard some people talk about the relationship with his mother and how he's still kind of in that, are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? And she's got that really, like he said, she has hands like Mickey Rourke. She works with her hands. She's like a tough lady, and maybe he's not the tough son necessarily that she envisioned, or I don't know what's going on there, but do you think that has anything to do with his behaviors? Because for me, it's like an insecure man does something like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I mean, I think he is very deeply insecure. But my thing that I'm really trying to implement in my life is no longer giving people a pass for having
Yeah,
mental health issues, because
totally.
like, yeah, oh, poor little boy is insecure. Like, yeah, so Ariana's been very open about her mental health
Yeah,
struggles. Everyone is basically has mental health struggles. So the fact that sure he might be seeking approval or whatever, but he's also drinking away his mom's retirement fund, like,
100%.
and getting his nails done when like her pension is like invested in this business, be like, I can't
It's
walk around with chipped fingernails.
and the whole band and needing to be seen. And also it's funny, we're gonna switch out of him for a second, but my boyfriend, who doesn't really watch the show at all, but he made a comment that's interesting, and he said that he never really to be a restaurant owner, he kind of skipped a lot of steps. He got it handed to him in a lot of ways, and now he doesn't really have the toolkit to run a restaurant because it was handed to him, so he kind of went around in that sense. And then same with the band, right? It's not his music that he wrote, and he wasn't
Yeah,
a struggling guy that like came from nothing and worked his way up to like this artistry. He was famous and he had money, so he's able to pay this band. And so he's like almost like playing dress up as the musician, playing dress up as the restaurant owner, but hasn't really done the work in either sense to actually say, I'm a successful restaurant owner, I'm a successful musician. Do you know what I'm saying?
totally. Yeah, I love how your boyfriend knows the specifics of it. Like when I talk about it, my
There's no
boyfriend's like,
choice.
my boyfriend refers, he's like, the waiters. He's like, are you talking about your waiters? I'm like, yeah. He's
The
just like, okay.
waiters.
Like
The
it's just a general. Like he's like, okay,
I
okay.
haven't been waiting for years.
He's like, okay, get off your chest what you need to. I'm like, yeah, I need to talk about my waiters now. Um,
I love that.
but yeah, Tom and Tom have just really failed upwards. Lisa loves to reward like these naughty boys, as she calls them,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, they have been handed it in a way, but in another sense, we really see how she's like, oh, you can buy back your 5%. Like you really see how they're just not really a part of Tom Tom. Like they just show up and shake hands. So
100%. Yeah. And like, I mean, I'm coming from Montreal, the food town. I'm sure you know like what it's like
wait,
to.
you're from Montreal?
No, I'm saying you. Yeah.
Oh,
I live
me. Oh,
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying from you, you must like it's the restaurant place to be. So you know what it's like, for small restaurant owners and things like that. And for to be given an opportunity like they have been given and just to see them sort of wasted away, it's pretty interesting.
well, yeah. I mean, I know, from what I've heard of opening and owning a restaurant, you have to be there every single day for the first year. Um, and they don't make a ton of profit usually. I also happened to go to Shores and Sandy's like a month before Scandal.
Oh my God.
It really is in a strip mall. Like it's
Is it?
like yeah, my friend who was taking me, she's like, you're gonna think we've gone to the wrong place at first. And like versus like Tom Tom and Sir and everything, it's like on this big fun strip and it's just all these gay clubs and it's like lovely. This is like way out in the middle of nowhere, like strip mall, weird, weird vibes. And
Really, eh?
yeah,
Wow. What was it
yeah.
like when you went? Like, what was their menu like? Just out of
Their
curiosity.
menu will actually I broke down their whole menu on my Patreon a few weeks
Okay.
ago and it's like
Everyone,
it's
subscribe to Patreon.
oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm not like I'm just like it's horrifying. Like we went like item by item. It's like blue cheese beignets and like lobster corn dogs, but like all these things. Oh yeah, there's salmon tofu tikka masala.
Oh, I
It's
don't
like
know about that.
so gross, like tofu salmon Indian, like
No, thank you.
ugh, I don't know. It's just like I love Indian food. I love salmon, but like and the tofu it's just like none of
It's
it really works. And but yeah, so I don't know that.
interesting. Interesting. Cool. Okay, let's go to Ariana next. I feel like it's going to be a whole different vibe. Although both Sun in Cancer, Moon Virgo, and we have her rising, which is Aquarius rising. What is your initial thoughts when you see that?
Um again, it's completely impossible to separate, my
Of course.
own my own bias. And also, so my friends and I have this whole system where we have like a VPR sun, moon, and rising. And it's not like no one can be Ariana. Basically, it's just speaking to your shadow side. So like the part of you that you are most trying to reject, but like is a part of you still. So for me, I'm like a Sheena sun and moon and a Kristen rising. And like
I love.
that is truly like my
Wow.
yeah, that for
Okay,
better
you
or
know
for
what?
worse.
I
Hmm?
have to tell you, Emily, I've never admitted it, but I feel I connect with Sheena and Kristen the most, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like, fortunately or not, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
in our friend group, like one of them is like for better or for worse, I'm a Stassi, like one of our friends like I'm Elisa Vanderpump, like I can't help it. And so it's not about like
Yeah.
being being all flashy, but it's about really sitting with yourself and seeing like, okay, what do these people like bring out in you? And like that's what you have to face in
I
watching this show.
I absolutely love that. That is so much fun. I love that you said that.
But
Okay.
anyway, sorry, I didn't answer your question at all. For Ariana, like, she is a very like I see just like a very strong shell, a very strong self-protection, like Cancer, Sun, Virgo, Moon, Aquarius rising, all of them like hold their cards close to their chest, and we've seen that with her. Um Even just in terms of like getting the most wasted, like she's not usually like super trash or anything. She's usually pretty measured,
Yeah.
um but very very caring. The
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay, yeah, no, very caring. That makes a lot of sense because you see even how she's able to separate the friendships, even within her relationship. Like it would be so hard for me if my boyfriend like hated one of my friends to like maintain a healthy relationship with them. You know, it would be hard. So I commend her for that. And I've been thinking a lot about the beginning when she first came into the scene, like season two, I think it was. And I noticed like it I don't know because she knew that Tom had a girlfriend when and I don't think it's a bad thing because like they just made out and it's I just wonder if there's been an evolving if you feel like she's evolved since like everyone evolves but I feel like she's a lot more mature than she was at the beginning and that could just be me.
Oh, I mean, yeah, and you know, I was gonna say who isn't more mature,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
their early 20s to their late 20s, but actually all the Toms, both the Toms and Jack. So none of them have evolved whatsoever, but the rest of them, yeah, have definitely we've seen like a nice progression of them getting older and wiser.
And okay, I'm just looking at my notes here. So another thing is that I read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's an artisticness to that. I don't know if it's the moon or the sun or the rising, but she's very artistic, and you see that with the cocktail book, and even I've seen with something about her, the way that they're going to be decorating it, and I love the idea of the sandwich shop. Is there like a lot of artist vibes that come out of that or
I'm trying to like, I mean, Aquarius rising, very imaginative, and she's teamed up with Katie, who's a really classic Capricorn, like, so that's a nice, like, that's nice for kind of moving the business forward. That nice Capricorn practical sensibility. Um, Something that I think, I guess beyond creativity is just needing to have just a really good head on your shoulders to have your own business. Cancers are, I would say, underratedly like the most professional sign.
wow, really?
Yeah. I don't know. There's something, they're like really, really hard workers and always like, no matter what's going on in their life, they can like pull it together and be like very, very professional, which is a
So
funny
interesting.
thing I've noticed.
Really, really,
Yeah.
that wouldn't come to mind right away. But then now that I think about it, the cancer I always think of is Pamela Anderson, and because she's very home and
Hmm.
she's like private in her home life, but and she's always been professional. So that's interesting that you say that because that was like the first thing that came to mind for me.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I think for businesses, like the creativity part is important, but it's so secondary to just being like responsible and practical and having a great work ethic. And I think Ariana's Cancer Sun and Katie's Capricorn Sun, like I don't think those two together have the most chemistry, but I wouldn't recommend necessarily just like opening up a business with just your bestest friends. It's like better just think of like, are we compatible in a business sense? And I would say that they really are.
100%, I agree. And yeah, and then that Virgo moon too, right? Just like orderly, organized, responsible. So yeah.
Yeah, like maybe she has the good kind of Virgo moon. I have the kind that is just like the most chaotic. Like it's like people are like neat and tidy. I'm like my space. I'm looking just beyond the camera is such a mess. And what's fun for me and my Virgo moon is I just nitpick it myself. So that's really. I'm like, God, I hope she has the good kind of Virgo moon that's like, I want to be organized.
It's really interesting though, how those that like I'm looking at the Virgo moon traits right now and it's saying them humble, orderly, altruistic, but you're seeing a different side. I wonder, is that because the rest of your planet sort of come into play there, you think, or
I would say that, well, both, I would say, so for me, like, yeah, there's a lot of other, chaotic planets and everything, but I also think there's a lot of misconceptions around Virgos. I think they're way more chaotic than people make them out to be.
hey,
I think because they see every little detail, they are actually quite like chaotic just because it's like making them a little crazy. Like they just see everything and can't kind of like let go of the little details.
Right. That makes so much sense. That makes tons of sense. Yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah, I've been meaning to make a video about it too because people are like, Virgos are clean. And it's like, who has ever met even one person who the main part of their personality is cleanliness? That's
Yeah,
just not a thing that actually exists in the world.
I know. And like even for me, I actually was wondering the other day because I have three of my outer planets in Capricorn, well, like one being Saturn. So I'm just like, why am I not good with money? Why am I the worst at dealing with money? And like I have no orderliness or organization in my life. And I
Which
asked,
planets are in Capricorn? Do you know?
well, let me check. I know Saturn is one of them, and I think Uranus, and let me just check the third one.
Well, Uranus in Capricorn is a bit of a challenging one because
It
Uranus
is,
is all
eh?
about like spontaneity and magic and so it's a not it's not really exalted in Capricorn. Like it's a
Okay.
bit of a it's like your like spontaneous luck and everything comes from like rigidity. Like they're a bit at odds, so that could be one part of it.
Yeah, that's so true. And Neptune. Yeah. So okay, then that's what actually an astrologer said the exact same thing to me. So and she was like, also it could be so innate in you that you need to like re-access it, you know?
Yeah, and something about like the outer planets too is it's one of those things where it's kind of it's more like a bit of a lifelong project to integrate
Right.
those things
Right.
because it's like, okay, here's what you need for success, but it's like it's not just so obviously within your reach and like you're gonna have to do some like soul searching to get there.
100%. 100%. And so that's what I'm focusing on this year, FYI.
Love that. Love that for you.
Okay, so any final thoughts on Ariana?
Queen, we love
Yeah,
her.
we love her. We're team
I mean, I was
Ariana.
gonna say, yeah, Team Ariana. Like,
Like
it's
who
kind of
is
like assumed
yeah,
everyone's on Team Ariana unless otherwise specified. But yes,
please no. We don't want that energy here.
yeah.
Okay.
Courtney, I'm just seeing there's like eight
Yeah.
minutes left. Okay, what are your?
But I'm thinking, how much time do you have? Do you want to just go and like
I
come
can
back?
go until 11:10 or 11:15.
Perfect. So we can finish, want to do one more and then we'll end and switch on to a new link. Does that work for you? Or should we
Sure.
switch
Yeah. Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll switch. Let's switch
Maybe
now.
switch now.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's switch
I'm
now.
gonna run and pee, and I will.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
are you gonna email me the link?
Yeah, it's gonna be the same link I sent you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll just leave and then I'll come back and. Okay.
perfect. See you
Okay.
soon.
Bye.